Hi there, and welcome to another episode of TikTok. I got something really exciting in the mail this week, and I'm excited to show you. It's the very first big shipment of Pebble Time 2 pre-production watches. Um, just look at them. So happy to see them here physically on my desk. And later in the video, I'm gonna show them off to you and do a little bit of a demo, and give you, lots of updates about Pebble Time 2. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about a subject that the Pebble community has been talking about quite a bit in the last week. But it's really been a conversation that's been going on for the last year since Google open sourced PebbleOS, and really in the last 9 years since the original Pebble Tech Corporation ceased to exist. And that is a question of sustainability and longevity of the Pebble product, the Pebble services, the Pebble software, really the community behind Pebble. And some of you may have seen this blog post that the Rebel Foundation posted last week. I also posted a response to that blog post. I'm not going to talk about that at all during this video. I think the response that I posted speaks for itself. But what I want to do is talk about the conversation that I've been having with people in the Pebble community, especially in the last week, but like I said, over the last year, over the last 10 years. The first time that, Pebble started, people got excited. We published it on Kickstarter. A community sprung up around these little watches that we made. And people invested their money, their time, their effort, their energy, their love in this smartwatch, really. And when the company ceased to exist, the community was absolutely left in a lurch. The watches continued to work, the software continued to work, but people didn't know would it last and what would happen. And like I said, this is an extremely valid concern, especially now that we're relaunching and doing this all over again. Like, how is this not going to be the same as last time? That's pretty much the question that I've had. And I think, I've talked about this and blogged about this already, how I believe that in the relaunch of Pebble, and the company that I started to kind of do the relaunch, Core Devices, doing everything within our power to make this sustainable. And what does that mean? Sustainable for me means, will this watch that we're, happily wearing on our wrists now continue to work long into the future? Will we be able to make more of these watches? Will we manufacture more hardware? Will we make more software? Will the software continue to exist? Will the App Store continue to exist? This is what I mean by longevity or sustainability. And I know that the effort is going to be sustainable because I was the first user of Pebble, and by damn, I'll be the last user of Pebble. And so I, have a vested interest in making sure that this thing is sustainable. And I know who I am. I know myself, and I'm confident in myself. And so I know it's going to last long into the future this time. But not everyone is me, and I understand how people can have concerns. And I think that there's probably no words that I could share that would make everyone kind of understand how sustainable I believe this effort is going to be. Actions do speak louder than words. And so there's kind of two main parts of the longevity sustainability question. There's hardware and software. And I want to talk about some of the actions that we've taken already and some of the actions that we're taking today to make sure that this time around, everything is going to be sustainable and last long into the future. And so on the hardware side, the most important thing is that we build a small, sustainable, and profitable company that makes these watches. If we can do that, we're good. I'll continue to manufacture these long into the future. There should be no primary reason why I'd stop. I love building them. I love making hardware. I'm extremely happy to have learned quite a bit through the first kind of effort that I did, and understand a lot of the problems that befall hardware companies, especially hardware startups that are venture backed. And so with this new company, it started with my own money. I decided to fund the effort. There's no investors. It's not a really large company. There's just a couple of us working on this. And we believe that we have a pretty clear path to making, a profit, a small profit, but some, we're making more money than we spend on the watches, and we hope that that amount of profit will be able to sustain operations and development of new watches and new things, and continue to allow me and the company to exist into the future, and continue to make cool watches. But on top of that, we've done a couple other things. One is that we've added screws to the back of Pebble Time 2, so you can take the back off. I'll show you in a few minutes. And replace the battery, which was, one of the problems with Pebbles. Like, nothing lasts forever, and batteries especially don't. And so now with Pebble Time 2, and I think, people will be able to just swap the battery out and kind of breathe a little bit of new life into a Pebble. And this is, remember, after like 5 or 10 years the battery was giving out. So the other thing that we've done is we've published the electrical and mechanical design files for Pebble 2 Duo. That's right, the entire schematic for this watch is available on our GitHub, so you can go and check it out. I'm excited to see other people make hardware that runs PebbleOS, and could be watches, could be other things. And there's a little bit of a quick start with this schematic that we published. Now onto software. So the last time, not much of the Pebble software was open source. I think maybe the SDK and the kind of developer tools were open source, but basically nothing else was. The operating system was not open source. The mobile app was not open source. There wasn't that much that the community could do to make improvements to the watches when the company ceased to exist. So after 2016, there were some, very valiant efforts by people, especially the Rebel Foundation, to continue to make changes and updates to the software. But it was very hard because the source code, the actual files that describe the operating system, were not available. And so every improvement had to be like a hack or a modification, or just like incredibly difficult to do. Things are, let's just say, very different for now. As of yesterday, the software that powers Pebble watches was about 90 to 95% open source. As of today, it's 100% open source. Let me explain what that means. So software-wise, there's 3 main components. There's the PebbleOS, the operating system that runs on your watch. We sometimes also call this firmware. Then there's the mobile companion app. That's the application that runs on your phone. It connects over Bluetooth to your Pebble. It sends notifications. It allows you to browse the App Store, configure apps, that kind of thing. The third component is the developer tools, the SDK, and the App Store. And I'll go through each one of them. So the impetus for this entire Pebble relaunch really was that Google open sourced Pebble's operating system, PebbleOS. This all wouldn't have happened without both the efforts of many people inside Google who supported this effort and went to great personal lengths to kind of use their spare time to open source the software. This all wouldn't have happened. There's just no way that I would have gotten to be able to do this relaunch, or gotten the energy or effort or whatever to do this if that hadn't happened. So the impetus was that PebbleOS is open source. And right from the beginning, the company that I started to kind of work on this relaunch, Core Devices, committed to publishing all of the improvements that we would make to PebbleOS as open source software. The license didn't actually require us to do this. It's an Apache 2 license. We could have closed source those things, but it never even crossed my mind. There was never even a moment where I considered that the improvements that we would make to PebbleOS would not be open source. Why not? It just felt like the natural thing to do. Plus, I'm excited that there might be some people crazy enough to take PebbleOS and make it work in other products or other watches. I'm excited to see what happens. I think PebbleOS is a fantastic piece of software, and it's a very rare RTOS, a real-time operating system that offers a real consumer kind of UI UX experience. There's a few other RTOSs out there like Zephyr, but none of them really come batteries included with a UI toolkit and all of the build systems and everything. So I am cautiously optimistic that other people might take some of the work that we've done with PebbleOS and modify it, or continue to do other cool things with it. So PebbleOS, like I said, it's open source. We develop All of the changes that we make are open source. They're published daily to our GitHub, and you can download the source code, you can compile it, and you can run that software that you just compiled on your new Pebble Watch. That's pretty much the gold standard for open source. Very few companies go this far. And we'll continue to do that. Like committed, done. We're open sourcing all of the kind of improvements that we make to PebbleOS on GitHub. Let's talk about the mobile app. So the mobile app, the Pebble mobile app source code was not published by Google when they open sourced PebbleOS back in January. And even if they did, we probably wouldn't have used it. Why? Because let's just say that the mobile app software ecosystem has moved on quite a bit in the last 9 years. And it would have been rather hard to get the app to compile and build again, let alone be the foundation for kind of the new Pebble app. So we decided from the beginning that we would rebuild the app from scratch in Kotlin multi-platform. This was faster and easier. And coincidentally, my colleague, Steve, actually spoke about this at DroidCon a few weeks ago, and his talk just went live today. So if you want to watch the talk, click the link down below or in the show notes and listen to him talk about Kotlin multi-platform for a while. So when Pebble Tech Corp died, the mobile app continued to live on. The original mobile app continued to live on for a few years. But then because the company wasn't around to pay Apple $99 a year, Apple took the app off the App Store. And Google wasn't any better. They eventually dropped the app from the Play Store, and then they made it harder to sideload APKs, which was just horrible. So eventually, this situation was really bad. You had potentially a working watch, but there was no mobile app that you could use to talk to that watch. So this was really bad. So sustainability is really important from a mobile app perspective. The new Pebble app that we created was about 60% open source right from the get-go through a building block library that we created called libpebble3, at least until this morning. Now, the entire new Pebble Watch mobile app is open source. So how did we get here? Why didn't we open source the entire app from the beginning? Well, there were 3 reasons that were going through my mind. One was I was concerned that other companies would be able to use our work without contributing back to the app or to the Pebble community. The second one was that we've been working on some other devices that use the Pebble app as its companion, and we didn't really want to let the secrets out. And then third, honestly, we just believed that the part that wasn't open source was pretty minor. It's literally, and you'll see because the source code is now all there, it's basically just a UI layer on top of libpebble3. And so, internally we were just like, what's the problem? Like, why do people care so much? libpebble3 is open source. But I understand, because of the intensity of the conversations that I've had with some people over the last week, I think I understand now why people were so concerned. It's the combination of the fact that people didn't have, especially iPhone users, people didn't have a Pebble app on their iPhone for the last 6 or 5 years because of this stupid iOS App Store thing and the $99. So I get it. Like, I'm an Android user. I've had the app on my phone for the last 9 years. I didn't really understand the pain. And so having talked to people and, understanding the pain a little bit more viscerally now, I've decided to open source the entire Pebble Watch mobile app. So it's there. It's got a GPL3 license. It's on GitHub now. This means that if I or core devices disappeared into a time bubble, you can download the source code, you can compile it, and you could use it on your iPhone or Android phone. You could even build derivative apps and publish them on iOS, on the iOS App Store and the Play Store. So, message received. I think I have understood this issue much better, and the mobile app is now open source. Then there's the Pebble Appstore. This is a collection of almost 15,000 Pebble watch faces and watch apps that you, the Pebble community, created and developed between 2012 and 2018, when Fitbit pulled the plug on the original Pebble App Store. The Rebel Foundation downloaded a copy of all the apps and watch faces on there and set up an alternative web service for users to use with the old Pebble app so that they could continue to download and use watch faces and watch apps. This was an incredible effort, one that I have used personally hundreds, if not thousands of times, and am a happy, paying subscriber. But it suffered from one problem. It was still centralized. There's only one server, and if that server disappeared, there is no publicly and freely available backup, which just isn't very sustainable for the long term. And in order to compensate for that, today we're launching two new things. One is that the new Pebble mobile app will be able to subscribe to multiple App Store feeds. This is very similar to how basically every other open source package manager works, like NPM, AUR, apt, etc. Anyone who wants can create a Pebble compatible App Store feed, and users will be able to browse that feed and see apps and watch faces in the new Pebble mobile app. The feature is in testing right now. We've got it working, but it hasn't gone through App Store approval yet, so it may be a few days before that lands and is publicly available, but we built it, and we're excited to launch it. The second thing is that we've created our own App Store feed and developer dashboard. Our feed is configured to back up an archive of all apps and watch faces to archive.org every day. This makes it not reliant on our servers. And at any point, if our servers were to disappear, if our feed was to disappear, you could download a copy of that, stand up your own Pebble App Store feed, and continue to use and show all of the apps and watch faces that you've come to love. Today, that feed only has a subset of all the Pebble watch faces and apps, but we hope that this sets a standard for openness, and we encourage all App Store feeds to publish a freely and publicly available archive of all the apps on their feed. An important note, though, that developers can and should still be able to charge money for their watch faces or apps using Kiesel Pay or any other service. This does not preclude them from doing that. And as I mentioned in a blog post a few weeks ago, we're also working on other ways that the Pebble developers can earn money by creating cool, fun, and awesome, watch faces and watch apps. So that's something that we're, talking to people about and figuring out ways that we can build a better experience about it, because the current one with people kind of like paying through a settings app is just, it's not ideal. And there's got to be a better way that we can do this. Okay, so that's it on the open source side. Let's talk about Pebble Time 2. So I've got a bunch of them on my desk. I'm going to get to demos, but first, a quick schedule update. We're currently in the middle of design verification, or DVT, for Pebble Time 2. I just got all of these DVT units. I'm testing them, figuring out what's wrong, what we need to improve. The next stage after that is called Production Verification Test, or PVT. We hope to do that in December. And then we go into mass production. There's one big kind of issue that's facing us. I think generally the schedule's on track. We're probably going to get into production in the end of December, if not January. But the big thing is Chinese New Year. So Chinese New Year starts pretty early this year. Most of the factories in Asia are shutting down mid to late January. They'll be closed for 3 weeks, and then they open back up in February. It takes a little while for things to kind of get going again after Chinese New Year. So we are trying our best to get what we hope is a few thousand Pebble Time 2s manufactured and built in January. We'll be able to get those to our fulfillment center and get them shipped out. But at most, it will be a few thousand, fingers crossed. And then the vast majority, the bulk of them will be produced when the factories reopen in February, March, and we'll kind of get them shipping and out the door in probably the March timeframe. That's when the majority of Pebble Time 2s will be shipped out. Now, obviously, it takes a couple weeks after things get shipped to arrive. So I think you, at this point, could be looking forward to getting Pebble Time 2 on your wrist in March, if not April. So we learned a lot of lessons about shipping Pebble 2 Duo. I learned quite a bit. I'm very, very happy that we built and shipped Pebble 2 Duo. First of all, it's just an awesome watch. The second thing is that it helped us kind of exercise the muscles that we need to build a whole bunch more of Pebble Time 2 and get them shipped out. So next step in the whole process is I'll be sending you an email to confirm your Pebble Time 2. If you placed a pre-order for Pebble Time 2, we'll send you an email in the next couple of weeks asking you to confirm which color you'd like. Now, we haven't sent any emails out, and we do not want you to send us a message saying, have we sent the emails out? Because we haven't yet. They'll be coming from info@readpebble.com. I'll post on this blog as soon as they're available, so you'll be able to browse here and see, like, have the address verifications gone out yet? But they have not gone out yet, so please don't ask. Okay, on to demos. So, well, first, let me caveat something. These are not finished watches. There's many things that are not finished, that are not kind of finished yet. The metal coating, the coating on top of the metal is not final. The colors are not final. The straps are not final. The polish is not final. I'm showing you these because I want to, but please don't jump into the comments and say, are these the final things? Because they aren't yet. We're working on them. We will have them finished. And if there's any problems, we'll fix them. So don't, evaluate these based on that. But here is, like I said, the DVT version of Pebble Time 2, and it just looks, I'm seeing it on screen. It looks really good, to say the least. It's fast, it's beautiful, and here's an example of this is one of my favorite watch faces. It's called Block Slide. It hasn't actually been updated for Pebble Time 2. But one of the features that we built is this ability to resize old watch faces and apps. So that's scaled. So you can see how it looks if it weren't scaled. Yeah, a little tinier here. So let me turn that back on so I could show you some other ones. Some watch faces that have been set up for Pebble Time 2. Some that haven't, but yeah, let me just take you through a few of some of my favorites and show you, what they look on this tremendously large and gigantic screen, which is awesome. One of my favorites, Nine Cat. This one my kids have really enjoyed recently. Pebble Pixel. It's called Pixel Time. Some fun color ones. I travel a lot, and so I love these multiple time zone watch faces. This is called multi-time zone edit. I don't know why it's called edit. Here's a little Star Wars one. I've been teaching my 5-year-old a lot more about Star Wars, and it's the Death Star targeting computer, whatever, or the X-Wing targeting computer. And and another fantastic one, of course, is Slides of Time. So, quick tour of some of the apps and watch faces. Let's play some games. This one is called Strike Force. I forgot. It uses the accelerometer, so you won't actually see. No, not the best one to demo. But yeah, again, this one I think is originally designed for the smaller watch face. Let's try Obelisk. I've been having a lot of fun with this one. You have to try to land the block right on top there. Yes, great way to waste an entire afternoon. What else do we got? Oh, Pliny Wings, a fantastic app made by Heiko, one of my past colleagues at Pebble. I forgot to load it ahead of time. It's a little bit big because it has quite a lot of graphics, but it is beautiful. But again, these are mostly apps and watch faces that have not been optimized for Pebble Time 2 yet. So expect to see a lot more. Let's talk about the different color options. So Pebble Time 2 is made out of polycarbonate and stainless steel. The stainless steel is on the top and the bottom, hardened, covered with a coating of PVD. And in the middle, there's a polycarbonate layer. We did this because the top case of, let's do this view. Pebble Time 2 is actually the antenna, the Bluetooth antenna, and then because we didn't want the antenna to be grounded against your body, there's a layer of polycarbonate plastic there that isolates the top antenna. And we decided to add a little bit of a color pop. You can see this is the black on black, as you can see there, boom. This is the, so one thing is I don't have the right, this is actually not the right watch. This is a stainless steel frame from an earlier test that we did. I don't have a copy of the silver on gray. We were testing white on the side. I don't know if we're going to do white, but there will be a silver version, maybe silver white, silver gray. I'm still figuring that out. Then we've got this silver and blue. I kind of call this the Rivian blue color. I did not take a chip of someone's Rivian blue paint, but I did tell them to design it to look kind of like that. I really like that. And of course the black and red, which I think looks particularly nice. Oh, this is back in the demos, I didn't show you how like a notification looks on this much bigger screen. And so here's, it's just, you can see so much more text. It's kind of crazy going back to, say like a Pebble Time Steel and seeing what that looks like. Yeah. So what else can I show you? Let's do the screws on the back. And so I could show you what the inside looks like. Oh, before I do that, so we don't have the touchscreen working in PebbleOS yet, but we do have a test configuration for the factory to make sure that the touchscreen works. And so here is okay, live demos. Let me just restart it. Well, it's not technically a live demo, but the app broke. Okay, so here's the touchscreen, and yeah, I think I posted a video of this on Blue Sky, and I think it'll be so much fun for people to build, cool apps or games or whatever using that. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Okay, so let's go inside. Pebble Time 2 has 4 screws on the back. It has a T2 Torx. It needs a T2 Torx bit. Note, we probably don't encourage you to take the backs off. I haven't really thought too much about this, but, don't take the back off if you don't need to, because it is waterproofed. It does have a seal. Don't mess around with it if you don't have to. But if you need to, if you absolutely need to change the battery, there it is. You could see that it's connected by this little flexible connector. That's the inside of the watch. Buttons. What else? Screen. These are the connectors for the screen. The green is an O-ring around there that seals against water entry. And then on the back, you have the heart rate monitor, the Pebble charge connector, and this is the linear actuator. This is the speaker, battery, other side of the charge connector, and the flexible circuit that connects to the main watch housing. And it's the most, it's by far the most openable Pebble that we've ever made. So that's a lot. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm now watchless, but I'm really glad to get the chance to both talk about, our efforts to open source more parts, if not all of kind of Pebble software now, and give you a little tour of Pebble Time 2. Thanks very much for tuning into TikTok. See you next time.